When Titanfall was first revealed, it came with a hefty hype-filled promise. Respawn and EA told us it would be the next generation of online multiplayer. I personally can't help but feel disappointed at Respawn's final product. With some basic features such as private matchmaking absent and a questionable community longevity, I held off doing a proper review until I could prepare for Titanfall. After spending some time with the PC version of Titanfall, the prospects are not great. Not only does the game itself feel surprisingly sparse in terms of content, but the community also seems to be decaying slowly. At first, this doesn't really seem to make sense, as the core gameplay is impressively solid, showing the kind of polished and innovative thinking Respawn had been fighting for since their time at Infinity Ward. Unfortunately, it's a lack of originality in the game's world, and the very limited gameplay options that hold the game back from being what it could have been. In Titanfall, you play as both the Mining Colonization Private Military Corporation, or PMC, known as the IMC. See that subtle letter change there? And the Frontier Militia, basically the Rebel Alliance as portrayed by C-list actors. Why are they fighting? Your guess is as good as mine. I played through the campaign twice on both sides of the fight, and I still cannot tell you why this war started. It seems more like a 12-year-old hastily explaining why his action figures are fighting than any sort of real narrative. There is an allusion to some previous conflict called the Titan Wars, but then you have to do a double take. Isn't the very war we are fighting centering on Titans? What was different from that war that made it the Titan Wars? What importance does that have in the current battle? Why does everyone talk as if we have an encyclopedic knowledge of the world on file to dig into whenever we need it? None of your questions get answered, and the rest of the story is delivered in what amounts to a radio drama. What's particularly confusing is how annoying all the supposed heroes of the conflict are. Militia hacker Bish, yes, Bish, complains about the battle and bugs you over the radio constantly, sometimes even when you're winning.
Violence. Looking pretty grim. We don't have much time left for a comeback. Pull it together.
Newly minted militia commander Sarah, great originality, seemed to be there for nothing more than questioning people,
Bish, we're taking orders from this McAllen now.
being annoying,
He's ex-IMC. I don't trust him, and neither should you.
and to tell you your Titan is ready.
Your Titan will be ready in 60 seconds. Stand by for recall.
McAllen is so ham-fisted as the retired war hero coming back for one last fight that even his voice actor seems to hardly care about sounding genuine.
Know what they started. You! Get to the top of that carrier! You got—
That's why we're gonna take it down while it's sitting still.
Halfway through, team. What's going on? Great job, team. Keep it up. We're taking this ship down today.
Thankfully, these characters mainly only have speaking roles in the campaign, which is a few identical missions to the regular multiplayer, just bookended with extra dialogue. So why would you want to play the campaign at all? Well, if you want the two other Titan chassis, the Ogre and Strider, you not only have to play through the campaign once, but twice. This task I found all the more frustrating as the lobby system repeatedly plays the same previous missions because there were not enough players to keep proceeding. This is less than 5 total months since the game released, and the multiplayer campaign is running notably low on players. Granted, sometimes teams are split up for no reason by the nonsensical matchmaking system that frequently crashed, so perhaps that is why everyone seems to be playing the same 4 missions over and over again. It's good that the gameplay holds up in spite of these problems. Navigating levels as a jet-boosting pilot brings back good memories from games like Quake and Mirror's Edge. The fluid navigation system is so promising and inventive, the game could have simply been built around fast-paced parkour gunfights. Sort of like a good Brink. The more detailed levels like Angel City let you sneak inside buildings, giving you an element of stealth when you're battling enemy titans.
It feels great.
Right.
Nice moves. Good job. Your Titan is ready to drop. Signal when ready. solid.
Continuing on the innovation front, the infamous Titans feel like an evolution in response to games like the original Halo, utilizing a similar health system while carrying just as much weight as a tank in Battlefield. The Titan controls feel great, and the combat is incredibly satisfying, especially in Last Titan Standing mode. When it's just 6-on-6 Titans with 1 life each, the gameplay almost evokes a mech warrior-like feel to it as you see a vastly better sense of coordination between yourself and your teammates. Not to mention, there is something special about seeing and hearing your own personalized Titan crash from the sky ready for battle in the game's namesake action, Titanfall. Outside of Last Titan Standing, though, Titans are almost like a power-up or a special tactical option instead of your life source. From Capture the Flag to Pilot Hunter to Hardpoint, Battlefield's Conquest mode, but with only 3 points, you can and will frequently lose your Titan. As a result, you value them less, and on a few occasions, I just left my Titan on auto guard mode around a critical objective while I ran off to do more jetpacky parkour fun. 2 modes, Attrition and Pilot Hunt, don't seem to be built with Titans in mind at all, leaving them as an awkward ball and chain that may or may not benefit the battle. This lack of full integration with Titans into all game modes is a symptom of a bigger problem. There is no risk taken with the game's design. It's sort of like an artist intentionally trying to paint in a new style, but then making it the exact same subject matter as they usually paint, and only making certain parts of the painting show the new style. Titanfall seems so scared of actually taking a chance to really push the new possibilities that it stifles itself. For example, in the case of Lotus, there are 10 primary guns and 3 sidearms total, 3 Titan chassis, and 6 guns total for any Titan loadout. In less than 2 days, I had nearly every gun unlocked. Save for a few variations on the assault rifle SMG, each class only has 1 gun, with a handful of weapon mods to make up the difference. Titan weapons are all single variants, but their unlockable mods dynamically change their use in battle. For some, this decrease in options over games like Battlefield 4's Sea of Guns will make it easier to discover your preferred playstyle, and make the game's rules clearer. For anyone who intends to get their money's worth out of the game and has experience with online shooters, it will be severely disappointing for goal seekers. One player I met even admitted the only reason he kept prestiging in Titanfall was so he had something to do. He had prestiged 9 times since he had bought the game because there was nothing else to do to keep him there. He was working towards his 10th when I was playing alongside him. Focusing on a polished experience with technical expertise is something a lot of developers fail at when making a new IP, so Respawn should be applauded for their efforts. That said, they focus so much on fine-tuning the core aspects and polishing everything besides the campaign mode, the very essence of the game is left underexplored and generic. This can best be seen in the 3 Titan chassis that currently exist in the game. Each all fit into the basic trio stereotypes that we always see in games and even some movies. The Atlas is the jack of all trades, master of none with good armor, 2 boosts, and increased damage while in overload. The Ogre is the big, chunky, slow one with a single boost, an abundance of armor, and while in overload mode gains extra shields, making it even tankier. The Strider is the nimble, dodgy Titan with little if any armor, 3 boosts, and obtains unlimited boost while in overload mode. There's nothing really unique about the Titans that make them memorable. Why not create a Titan that starts its deployment with a riot shield, but has limited weapon selection? Perhaps a Titan that specializes in long-distance fighting. Perhaps a support Titan with no real weapons, but helps to buff other friendly Titans in the area. The fact that Respawn did not take the opportunity to truly make dynamic weapons of war is a hugely missed opportunity. That urge to come back, that hook of just not caring if you've played the same map 20 times because it feels fresh and new, is just not there. I put Titanfall down, and I couldn't remember why I spent so much time with it. There was fun to be had for sure, but there was no drive to play more of it. There was nothing making me want to go back to it. A perfect example of this self-stifling is the game's burn card system. Foregoing kill streaks you could unlock so long as you got enough kills, burn cards are available to everyone and last only 1 life before expiring. Except these range from major perks such as permanent invisibility and the ability to automatically have an area of effect hack of enemy NPCs, all the way to just giving you a slightly more powerful version of a gun you may or may not have unlocked. Due to the nature of the game supposedly supporting months of playtime, you don't want to spend the more useful cards randomly. Weaker cards also sometimes seem pointless, like giving specified experience point bonuses for damaging titans or the enemy's NPC forces. Slight percentage bonuses don't seem that important when I ascended rank after rank after rank in a mere few hours on my own. It would have been better if you could craft more powerful cards from weaker cards, letting players feel they could rebuild their preferred decks over time. The lack of such a system doesn't help to abate the feeling the game was not built with a clear roadmap for after launch. Post-launch support has been underwhelming. At launch, the game lacked even the ability to group with players outside of lobbies, let alone make private matches. The first downloadable content drop just included 3 new maps with private matchmaking still in beta. You can finally form parties with friends, but other features such as customizing the look of your Titan are in a limbo of uncertainty. 2 new modes were released. One is a 2-man version of Last Titan Standing, and the other is Marked for Death, basically assassination mode from the Killzone series, where you have to hunt down a specific VIB player on the opposing team while protecting your own. So, not exactly mold-breaking. There's been no word on new Titans or even just subclasses of the same chassis. Even new guns seem to be avoided by Respawn, favoring the game's current balance over rocking the boat. Except that's precisely what a multiplayer game like this needs. The game is stagnating on PC, and there is a distinct possibility the Xbox One following will decrease by the time Halo Master Chief Collection releases later this year. It is entirely possible Respawn will or already has given into demand and will finally increase the variety of combat options, but they could also stick to their guns and hold out any major improvements for the already confirmed sequel. Another knock against longevity is the game's lack of any sort of offline play. Titanfall is competitive online multiplayer, but a number of online games that lack a true single-player campaign at least has an offline training mode. Save for the initial tutorial, everything in Titanfall requires a steady internet connection to go along with a $60 price tag. In my experience, regular matchmaking and play is fine so long as you have at least around a 3/4 to 1 megabyte of download and upload speed, but the game still crashed around half a dozen times on me due to some internal error. There weren't any other notable bugs, at least. You may be wondering why I haven't brought up the game's actual visual aesthetics. That's because they're highly underwhelming. Respawn seems to be going for a World War II meets Firefly theme, and it leads to some great designs for the Titans in some of the levels, but that's about all there is to really mention. Characters are rendered in a more realistic style, there are an awful lot of grays, blues, and oranges, like in a fair number of other shooters published by EA, and pilots themselves feel like riffs on the clone trooper designs in Star Wars. This isn't to say you can't make gritty aesthetics feel fresh. Syndicate took the Mirror's Edge palette and used the grim-covered slums to contrast the hyper-contrast in the rich cities above. But there's little new here. Much like the gameplay and the story, Respawn is on the cusp of something great with its visual direction. The Atlas Titan chassis looks like a real piece of military hardware. The weapons are pragmatic, but still futuristic enough to feel like something distinctively from this setting. The soundtrack also does a great job of melding a bombastic Wild West guitar with some songs that will remind you of some of the best music from Two Steps from Hell. All the pieces are here for a great sci-fi western with a strong lore to back it up. They just need to properly utilize it. Until they do, Respawn's just spinning their creative wheels when they could go all out. Maybe being conservative for the first game was part of the plan. If that's the case, here's hoping the sequel does the IP justice. You've got some great ideas, Respawn. Just push them as far as you can.